broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Welcome back to the AfterBuzz TV After Show for The Amazing Race Season 27, Episode 10. We're here to bring the fun, baby. Am I right,
Yeah,
Jess?
we are.
I'm your host, James Wallington, and with me today is...
What's up, guys? I'm Jessica Carroll, and unfortunately, Marie could not join us today, or her puppy. How fun was that last week when she brought her?
Our little mascot.
But we are still going to have fun.
We will. We will definitely bring the fun. Sorry, Marie, that you can't be here with us to join in on that fun. But let's dive right into the episode 10 recap. They're still in Agra. Did I say it right this time?
Yep.
Agra, India. They didn't really leave India this leg. But teams began the leg in the city of Agra by heading to Kachora Bazaar to find their next clue. Of course, it starts off with Justin talking about all their first place finishes and how the record is 8, which was done by Rachel and Dave, if I believe, back in season 20.
Yep.
They won the most legs in a row, which was also 4 times. So Justin and Diana already broke a record. They've already surpassed that by winning 5 legs in a row. So that's one record to check off, Justin. And now you just have to beat the record of all first place finishes.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. Do you think they can do it?
I do. Well, I know we're going to get into this a little bit later, but the previews make me second guess myself. Mm-hmm. But I hope they will, because that would be a huge accomplishment.
It's an unsettling preview for the green team.
I know. But this leg, we found out there was a third U-turn.
A third U-turn, which is insane because that's the first time in Amazing Race history. So crazy, crazy, crazy. Obviously, it brings a lot of paranoia amongst the teams.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to U-turn who? Yikes. But Chris seemed to have a really rough start to the leg of this race, which quite honestly, I thought was going to do them in. He was throwing up at the mat before even, going into the leg itself. Yeah. So he was just not feeling all too well.
So when you're in India, it is so important not to drink the water. I mean, you can't even brush your teeth with the water. And actually, when I was there, my mom got what Chris had. And over there, they call it the Delhi belly. Like New Delhi, because it's nasty. And so I felt bad for Chris having to, but he totally held his own. He kept pushing and he did pretty well. So good for you, Chris.
And for not feeling all too well, he didn't really complain as much as I thought I would expect him to do. So,
and Logan was just like, come on, let's go.
It seemed like he did a good job.
Yeah.
He held his own.
Yeah, definitely.
Kelsey and Joey are talking about how they're obviously nervous about this third U-turn in The Amazing Race because they are Justin and Diana's biggest threat. At least that they think so. Because they're right on their tails. But if they were smart, Green Team would have U-turned the reporters.
Right.
Because again, that's how you would play the game smart if you were threatened by a team. But I think because of how loyal the reporters have been to the Green Team, the Green Team never had the reporters on their mind when U-turning. So,
do you think if it was the reverse, the reporters would have U-turned Justin and Diana?
Absolutely.
For sure.
I think anyone would have at that point because the stakes are so high now that it's down to the final 5 teams. And everyone's been wanting them gone since leg 1?
I know.
Well, more like leg 2 because leg 1 they didn't do so
and
high.
now it's like, okay, if we can't get them gone, let's at least have someone else get first place for once.
Right.
I mean, that's crazy. So, and then Krista and Tiffany, they're like, you know what? It's the last leg that matters. We just want to get first on that last leg.
Well, when they said that, it made me think, is this foreshadowing what could possibly happen? Because I know a lot of people, and even Tiffany and Krista had said this, no one thought that they were going to make it to leg 10, And so for me as a fan, I'm excited for them because they are exceeding those expectations a lot of people had from they're not going to do well. They're just doing better than everyone thought they were going to do.
If you ever told me they would be in the top 4, no way.
No way.
But girl power. I mean, seriously, these girls are fighters. I love it.
Well, I even saw a hater on Twitter tweeting Tiffany and Krista about how, like, they should have already been gone and how this was, like, a free pass for them. And that was in reference of the leg where the Texas boys didn't get to the mat first. But if you really think about it in the grand scheme of things, they weren't given a free pass because that leg was a non-elimination. So even if the cheerleaders got last place, they still would have been in the game. And more than likely, they probably would have done well. But with the U-turn...
Right.
Or the speed bump, right?
Yeah.
That would have been a problem, I think.
It reminds me of the baseball bunnies when everyone, or even the ice queens or the ice princess.
Yeah, the cat with 9 lives.
Yeah. Seriously, I was like, these girls just hang in there, but I like it.
Joseph Boza in the live chat says, Tiffany and Krista, I knew would be in the final 4. Joseph Boza, you are a wise man.
Seriously.
And we always appreciate your feedback during our live shows. Mary Judah 444 says, I totally can see the girls winning. And I can kind of agree with that. I mean, obviously, I'm a little biased because they are on my fantasy team. So for them to win would be huge. But I would just like to see them win at this point because a lot of people have underestimated their strengths and abilities in The Amazing Race.
Yeah, for sure.
So go cheerleaders.
And it also goes to show that, I mean, part of the race is a lot of luck and just chance and opportunities. You know, like, you don't have to be the strongest or the biggest fans or the, most followers. Like, it's just really about playing a smart race.
Absolutely, which I think the green team has been doing the best at.
Yeah, definitely.
Once teams get to their first clue, it is the roadblock, and it said, who's full of hot air? One team member had to use a pump to inflate enough balloons to fill a net attached to the back of a bicycle. Once the net was full, they had to ride across the crowded Yamuna Bridge to deliver the balloons to a gathering on the other side to receive their next clue, then bike back to reunite with their partner. The participants in this roadblock were Justin, Joey, Logan, Tiffany, and James Earl. This roadblock, first off, balloons are fun to an extent, but when you're tying that many balloons, shoot me.
Right, me too. I was like, oh my God. And I have the smallest little hands that I would have totally related to Joey because tying that many balloons, holy crap, no way.
It's like your fingers kind of get raw after a point and you just don't have feeling. And so it makes tying those knots a lot more difficult. So yikes. Power to all the people who did this roadblock because I would have been probably really annoyed at how tedious it was.
Yeah.
Logan, when she got to do the roadblock and they saw the clue, she goes, you don't need to see anything, it's mine, like trying to do the roadblock. I was like, oh, the paparazzi, of course. Right. This is the roadblock for them because they're full of hot air all the time, in my opinion. Yeah. So it's just very fitting.
Yeah, and I loved it. Like, everyone had a little bit of a challenge. Like, Justin, of course, was just screaming and jumping up and down and throwing balloons to the kids and having fun. But, Joey really struggled with the tying. Logan struggled with her boyfriend. Like, she was just so annoyed. Tiffany had trouble biking and getting there, and then James had a really tough time with the net. So everyone had struggles except for Justin.
Right. Everyone had their fair share of trials and tribulations with this roadblock.
Yes.
One thing that I really appreciated is, I think it's one thing I appreciate about the green team the most, is that I think Justin said it in this episode too, about how you need to take time to appreciate the things of The Amazing Race. Otherwise they slip right past you and you regret it. And one thing that really showed in this roadblock in particular was when Diana took the time to use those temporary tattoos that she brought with her to play with the children while Justin did the roadblock. I loved that. She was really seizing moments in The Amazing Race that make The Amazing Race what it is.
Right.
So I loved that moment.
And that just goes to show that they are such fans of the race and they're really taking it all in because, while everyone else just kind of stood around as their partner did the detour or the roadblock, she really embraced it and says, while he's working, I'm going to go over here and have fun with the kids. And it was so cute. I loved that.
I agree. I love you, Diana. You're so cute.
So adorable.
I thought it was also really interesting how during this roadblock, how many teams mentioned marriage in some capacity. One of them being Chris, because he kept saying the last thing on my mind was getting down on my knee and having a wedding here, but it's something we could both enjoy in the future at the right time. We talked about this in our previous after shows, just the dynamic that Chris and Logan have as a couple. It's very different and kind of strange. I mean, I'm not judging. Every relationship is special and unique to the couple, but from an outsider's perspective, it's just kind of interesting.
It's very interesting.
Complex.
It's not, very complex, and it's not I don't know. I haven't really seen many sparks fly.
No.
You know, like it doesn't say, I don't know. But you never know. People, you know, there's someone for everyone, right?
There's someone for everyone. And sometimes, you know, opposites attract, and sometimes people who are the same attract.
Right.
So,
but they were also bringing up the whole marriage proposal thing because they were actually delivering the balloons to a wedding. And when I was in India, I experienced an Indian wedding. Wow, they are so colorful, so elaborate. They go all out. Like those are huge weddings.
All out. And I've you know, I've never been to India, but I work in the wedding industry here in LA, and the amount of Indian weddings that I've had the opportunity to coordinate, it's been fun because, you know, here in Southern California, LA, where there's some money in the city, they have money to the point where it goes all out. You know, they don't necessarily ride a horse or an elephant into their wedding. They ride a Maserati or ride in the most elegant car.
Right.
So it's interesting for me as a wedding coordinator to see the difference between the LA versions of an Indian wedding opposed to the culture, like 100% authentic, true to India wedding that we saw here in this episode.
Yeah.
So,
now I remember the wedding that I went to, they had, for like the pre-wedding celebration, they played polo, but on elephants. It was the coolest thing ever. I don't know. I just thought that was super
Indian
cool.
weddings in general, like, take up to days, like 4 days, you know, the least, to party. And every day there's a different ritual and custom and something true to that day.
Yeah.
And it's just the tradition behind an Indian wedding is so fascinating. I know this is so like not Amazing Race right now, but I think this is why I love The Amazing Race so much, is that it gives people the opportunity to see
the culture.
So I'm actually going to tweet a link really quick because I did do a feature about Indian weddings for the wedding company that I work for, and with my web series Wedding Weekly TV. And if you ever want to know more about Indian wedding culture, it's really fascinating and really cool. So you did definitely get a taste of it on The Amazing Race.
Cool.
Yeah. So another person that talked about weddings,
Back to The Amazing Race.
Back to The Amazing Race was Joey.
Yep.
Joey talking about he was having a hard time tying those knots.
Oh my gosh. I felt
Hope that
his
doesn't
pain.
translate into real life, but
yeah, hopefully yeah, that's a good point. And then they also mentioned the U-turn. Justin and Joey, when Joey got there, they mentioned the U-turn again and how Justin's like, no, we're not going to U-turn you. You know, we're probably going to U-turn.
They even said, Denise and James Earl or Chris and Logan.
Right.
And Joey's like, oh, you know, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
And that's when Justin flat out said, we'll do Logan and Chris to help you guys out. Because that's kind of like this alliance and relationship between the green team and the reporters.
Yeah.
So it's like helping both of them out by knocking that third thread out.
Exactly.
To their game.
Right.
So it's definitely really, I think the dynamic in the relationship between the green team and the reporters is really interesting because, like we did touch on at the beginning, a reporter's 100% would have, I think.
Oh, for sure.
U-turns.
I mean, if they were playing it
team.
smart, they should have. Yeah.
Oh, Amazing Race. Of course, we see Denise and James Earl a little bit at this roadblock. Denise more so turning to Krista and saying, please don't U-turn us. Please don't U-turn us. And Krista, are you kidding me? We would never, ever. You guys are incredibly loyal. I swear to God, we would never do that. And Tiffany had troubles at the roadblock because she was on the bridge and it seemed like someone completely ripped open her net. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. So, yeah, Tiffany, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tiffany was biking and you couldn't really see, but honestly, when everyone was biking to deliver the balloons, what was going through my head was, oh my God, the streets are so crazy in India that I'm surprised that small little net didn't pop open more often.
Right.
And so when it happened to Tiffany, I wasn't surprised, but at the same time, I was surprised it happened to her because if there was anyone who I think people would be annoyed and popped to the net, it probably would have been Justin. He was like yelling in the middle of the street, screaming and, you know, being excited. But she was just this little cute thing with her little ponytail on top. Like, why would they pop hers?
Well, she even said, she's like, I feel like I was a target. Like, people just wanted to pick on. And in that moment, I was worried that she would have to go back and start the roadblock over. But I wondered if there was some sort of rule in this kind of situation where it's like acts of nature that are completely out of... I say acts of nature. It's not really necessarily nature, but it was one of those incidences.
Acts of locals.
Yeah, where do you fault the player that was doing the task, or do you just let it slide? And in this case, it seemed like they let it slide because it wasn't Tiffany's fault. But it's just, I would have liked to have known probably more of why did she get that free pass? Was it part of the rule or
honestly,
what?
when it cut to commercial right after we saw her balloons pop, I was like, my gosh, is she gonna have to go all the way back, blow up those balloons? Because that would have put them way behind.
Right.
So I want to know why she didn't have to do that.
So Tiffany, when you're watching this, shoot me a text, Facebook message,
Oh, gosh.
tweet us. Let us know. I would like to know a little bit more of what happened there and if that was part of the rules.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really see the net get cut, but yeah.
Yeah.
So once teams completed the roadblock, they were given their next clue that instructed them to make their way to Goyle Bookstore, which was the location of not only the U-turn, but for their next detour as well. Also, for the people in the live chat, I did just tweet on Twitter at James Wallington a link to more of the Indian wedding culture if you're ever interested.
Cool.
Just
I want to
tweeted
check that out too.
So this is when we see the U-turn. Again, first time in race history. This is the third U-turn in the game. The green team gets there and U-turns the paparazzi. At that point, I was like, thank God. Like, this kind of gives the cheerleaders, of all my teams, the paparazzi is ranked the lowest. Like, I'm obviously rooting more so for Alabama and the cheerleaders. So when I saw the paparazzi get U-turn, I was like, heck yes, please knock them down. What did you think of the move that green team did by U-turning them?
Honestly, I thought it was smart. At first, I was debating whether they would U-turn Joey and Kelsey. But knowing Justin and how they definitely do keep to their word, I wasn't really surprised. And I thought that they are a tough team. They are a good team. So I wasn't really surprised.
Right. I think it was smart, especially if you want to keep that good karma and relationship that you do. Especially, it's kind of like, it's nice to like take out the person that's right behind you, but at the same time, it's nice to have tabs on them, depending on how you want to look at it. But to know that like, oh, they're right behind us. It gives us that extra push, but at the same time, we also know where they're at.
Yeah,
you don't have to worry, Whereas, like, if there's no one right behind you anymore and you don't know where the other teams are, then there's that added stress level of, like, are we in the back of the pack or are we still in the front of the pack? So I guess it just kind of depends on how you want to look at it. But I thought it was a great move on the green team's part.
For sure.
Paparazzi U-turned. They weren't very pleased about that.
No.
So
especially because he was already sick, poor guy.
I thought there would have been a little bit more drama revolving around the U-turn because it seemed like the last time the U-turn was in play, there was a lot more drama and hype about it. But for something that was like the first time in Amazing Race history, there really wasn't much of like, oh my God, I can't believe you U-turned me. So
yeah.
But the clue was for the detour. Before I move on to the last half of this episode, I just want to remind everyone at home to rate, comment, and subscribe to our after show. We appreciate all of your guys' loyalty to our after show recap every single week, and it's so sad that this season is almost done.
I know, it's gone by so fast.
So fast. But you can count on us to be here next time. Hopefully Justin will be able to join us again, and we'll keep Marie on board as well. So it's been fun, and we appreciate all of your guys' feedback and just loyalty to our
for
show,
sure,
and just giving us so much love every single week. So the detour was bring the groom or bring the fun. And bring the groom, teams had to hand crank a portable generator until they produced enough energy to light up a cumbersome candelabra. Then they had to join a barat procession. And again, in that wedding video I tweeted, you'll learn more about the barat. It's so fascinating. Barat procession through the streets with one team member carrying the candelabra while the others carried the generator to escort the groom to his wedding party at the Sri Ram complex. Once the groom was delivered to his bride, they received their next clue. In Bring the Fun, teams had to push a mobile amusement swing through the crowded streets to deliver it to the outside playground at the same wedding party. Then give 8 children a ride in it to receive their next clue. Which detour would you have done, Jess?
Honestly, I just think the whole generator and produce enough power and carry a light thing, that just sounds miserable. An amusement park, a swing, and kids, that sounds more up my alley. So I would have definitely done Bring the Fun.
Yeah. What I loved about this is both detours where there seemed to be an element of fun to both and a very cultural experience to both.
Yeah.
I think just given my wedding background, I would have totally done Bring the Groom because the brats are so fun. I got to participate in one of a wedding that I coordinated here. And it's
so what is a brat?
It's like a parade, huge celebration where all the groom's side, like his whole entire family, is pretty much marching through the streets, letting everyone know that he's found the love of his life or his partner in life. And they're just bringing him in a celebration to be married with his wife. So it would have been fun to have been a part of a more like cultural experience of a Bharat in India rather than the streets of LA. But still, I would have done Bring the Groom. Both of them were really cool.
That would have been very fitting for you. Yes. For sure.
And Bring the Fun, both the green team and the paparazzi did that one at first. Again, Diana and Justin loving the interaction with the kids.
They love kids.
They love kids. And they'll both be really great parents.
Yes, I was just going to say they definitely need to have kids themselves.
And in Bring the Groom, reporters, cheerleaders in Alabama. I feel like Bring the Groom seemed pretty straightforward, whereas like the thing, I think what Marie would say, in Marie's words, would have been somewhere along the lines of like, if you did Bring the Fun, you are relying on the kids to get in the amusement swing, but what if some people didn't do that?
Right.
Kind of like when you're trying to get money for the music on the piano that they did.
Right.
Whereas Bring the Groom, you just have to get the candelabra lit and then bring him to his bride, which is more of like you're on destiny and fate is in your own hands.
Exactly.
So, a lot of the people did Bring the Groom, which was reporters, cheerleaders in Alabama. But because paparazzi was U-Turn, they had to do both.
Both. That sucks.
And that's when I was hoping that just maybe Alabama would be able to catch up because they were U-turned. But I don't know, like, where along the way. Like, it seemed like everyone kind of was at an equal level this leg.
Yeah.
Because it was no, like, a lot of public transit, not flying anywhere new.
Right.
So it could have been anyone's game. So
definitely.
Bummer.
I loved Tiffany and Krista's first response. They're like, I hope the groom's really cute.
I know.
I loved that. I was
and when they mentioned, like, we'll escort the groom, I was like, no, I don't know if escort's the right word. Because that comes off weird. You're escorting a groom.
A groom, yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah, that's so funny. And then even Justin, this is when Justin mentioned what we talked about a little bit earlier, that if you don't take the time to appreciate the race while it happens, you'll regret it once it's over. And I don't want to regret anything on the race. And that way too, like if you don't win, then you know that you got the most out of your experience. And to me, in that kind of situation, like the memories and the experience that you gain from something like the Amazing Race is going to be worth much more than $1 million.
Exactly.
On the grand scale of life.
Right.
So.
And that's the same metaphor just for life in general. Like, you don't want to just kind of check the box each day. You really need to enjoy the journey and live in the now. So I liked it when Justin was saying things like that. Kind of like a little reminder for myself, too. I was like, I should probably just enjoy this right now, this moment.
Justin, you're just giving us so much inspiring words.
Little motivational speaker along the Amazing Race journey.
Yes. And then James Earl was mentioning the fact that he felt very grateful that Justin U-turned Logan and Chris. And that's where I was also thinking, I'm grateful too, because this is going to give Alabama a chance to catch up. But Denise, of course, being the rock star that she is with all her famous one-liners. Like, I wish we just had a list of her one-liners this season. She goes, I'm glad I'm not a bridesmaid at this wedding. Oh, God. Oh, Denise.
Oh, Denise. She's so funny. And freaking Logan and Chris were just arguing the entire time. So obnoxious. I mean, I felt bad for those kids as they were pushing them. They're just like, yelling back and forth.
Oh, Logan and Chris. What are we going to do about you? Once teams
It would have been funny if the kids didn't jump on because they were yelling and they had to they
were so put off by them.
You're so nice. Like, come on, kids, let's go. Like, actually,
I don't know if I would want to approach a couple fighting, especially like foreign people in my country. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
you don't even know if they're yelling. They're just
you wouldn't understand their
barking. Yeah.
Once teams completed the detour, both detour crews instructed them to search the party grounds for the next pit stop, Find Phil, which was located behind the complex at the Sri Ramchandra farmhouse. In first place, none other, the green team.
Yes.
Now they have to just get one more leg of winning to beat the record in Amazing Race.
Seriously, that's crazy.
Second place, the reporters, just like barely there.
Minutes.
Hopefully they'll get their first place at some point. I just feel like they're due for it.
They are, for sure.
And then third place, the cheerleaders.
They did a little dancing ceremony.
I loved it. And then I loved the reaction when they saw paparazzi running in and they were like, oh no.
Yeah.
I would have been disappointed too, because obviously Team Alabama and the cheerleaders seem to have a really good relationship.
I know. They were, even when they saw James and Denise run up last, they definitely had tears in their eyes.
I definitely did. Fourth place, paparazzi. And then last but not least, and unfortunately eliminated, and my first team for my fantasy team, And I'm sad that they're my first, but Team Alabama, James Earl and Denise, we say goodbye to you this week. Hopefully we'll see you on a second chance or like
this is your first team to go home?
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, finally, it's about time.
I wish
Just
it would
kidding.
have been the paparazzis though.
I know, I'm sad to see them. And honestly, the best thing though is that you can tell James and Denise really have rekindled their relationship.
Oh, they've come such a long way.
Oh my gosh, I mean, their whole story, I'm so happy that Amazing Race changed their relationship.
100%. And I saw a bonus clip on the Amazing Race YouTube page where you guys can see like extra footage that they don't show in the episode, and it just was kind of like an extended clip of the pit stop and the conversation they had with with Phil, excuse me, Will. My boyfriend's on my mind.
Someone's on your mind.
With the conversation with Phil, and then it was more of like an elaborate explanation of what the race has done for their relationship, how they're going to move forward from here. And I got choked up when Denise was saying like, he's still my kid.
Yeah.
It's the same kid that, I gave birth to. Like, it's the same kid that I raised. Like, even though he's gay,
he's still the same person.
Yeah. And I will say I was a little upset, and maybe this is because I am gay, but when Phil said something like, Denise, like, does this change your views on James Earl's lifestyle choice? It made me a little mad because it's like, it's not really a choice. I mean, that's just my opinion. But
yeah.
I just, as a gay man watching it, I was just kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about those
words, Phil.
Yeah, but still.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I just didn't really like how he worded it or phrased it. But I still love Phil. But yeah, Denise, I just am so proud of her as a mom, and her just kind of getting to that point that I think a lot of moms...
For sure. I think that, a lot of people who watch this race who either are gay or have children who are gay are going to realize that, what? They're the same people. Mm-hmm. You're going to love them no matter what.
And that's your blood. That's your child.
Yeah.
So Denise and James Earl are definitely an inspiration, and hopefully their story impacted a lot of viewers who may be going through what they've gone through, and show that you can overcome it. And all it really takes is unconditional love and faith.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, wow, we got a little deep in here.
I know. And we got and Tiffany, of course, was crying again. Tiffany, how many times has she cried?
She's an emotional one.
She is, but I would cry.
I was like, we're kindred spirits, because I feel like I would be the
I would
same
too.
way.
If someone popped my net, as I was racing, I'd probably cry too. And definitely James and Denise made me cry. So if I was standing next to them, I would have been bawling.
I lost it.
Yeah.
So I don't have a graphic for this week, you guys. Sorry, the Thanksgiving holiday just got a little carried away with time.
I hope you guys all had an amazing Thanksgiving.
Yes. And as we know, I lost my first team member, my first team on my fantasy team. So all I'm left with is the paparazzis and the cheerleaders. And you are left with the green team and the reporters.
Yes.
So it's anyone's game at this point.
I know.
2-2. We're still duking it out, Jess.
Marie's been out for a while.
Arrow Man in the live chat says, Arrow Man said, it is a choice if you come out, not necessarily the lifestyle. Arrow Man, glad you mentioned that, James. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood what he said for a second. So the fantasy draft, yes, it's neck and neck, 2-2 right now, Jess. It's anyone's game.
It is.
A lot of people in the live chat have been saying tonight that they think the cheerleaders are really going to win this season, which is a complete change in tune, which I, of course, would love, because it's unexpected and not predictable at all, because you would think that the front runner right now is Justin and Diana. So we'll see.
But honestly, looking at that preview for next week, it looks like Justin and Diana are going home. Mm-hmm. And it honestly...
Or something tragic happens.
And it almost looks like Chris and Logan now have a fighting chance, for just staying in, and the cheerleaders. Mm-hmm. But what do you think? You think this coming episode is going to be a non-elimination?
I think it'll follow like the steps of what previous seasons have done before, where the top 4, it's like the last leg abroad.
Right.
So in this case, it'll be China. And then no one's going to get eliminated. But I do think Justin and Diana will get last. Like, they're going to feel the pressure of last. Like, one mistake in the race is going to cost them to go to the last place. Which will be kind of poetic in a weird way, because the whole race they've been talking about playing it smart and doing everything right and making sure that they come out on top. So it'll be interesting to see a turn of tides if that's the case.
And it'll be funny too, because the only mistake pretty much Justin and Diana made this whole leg so far was the first episode. And so if they make, a little boo-boo on one of the last episodes, it'll be, kind of like a little
full circle.
Yeah.
So it's anyone's game next week, and if this happens to the green team, then maybe we'll finally see a Joey Kelsey reporter's first place win, which would be great.
Amazing.
But I think it'll be a non-elimination leg, and then all four teams will go back to the States. One team will get eliminated within that leg, and then we'll have our top three. So right now my money's on the cheerleaders just because of how their edits kind of change and the different sound bites they're saying. I'm picking up on the cues. So I would like to say the cheerleaders win.
I would love to see the cheerleaders. And, the cheerleaders did say it's all about that last leg. So that's kind of a foreshadowing too. But I really do hope that the reporters get first. Even if it's a non-elimination, I hope that they just get to fill first this leg.
Amen. It'll be exciting. Almost done with this season.
Almost done. I'm sad but excited at the same time.
Well, that wraps up our recap today, you guys. Thank you to everyone who joined in on the live chat. We, again, appreciate the conversation, and we'll keep it going all week long on social media. Speaking of social media, Jess, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at DressJessXO.
And you can find me on Twitter at James Wallington and on Instagram at James.Wallington. And we will see you guys next Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to recap another exciting episode of The Amazing Race.
Yes.
Have a great week, everyone.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.